With the collapse of Dubai World, Dubai now owes in debt over 100 billion pounds. Now, as I said in Who Runs This Place, political conventions versus and sorry and pressure groups versus written constitutions. We are in a system that is akin to Neo-Feudalism in the West, because there are powerful families above the democratic framework. Okay, in the Middle East, it is out and out feudalism. There's no middle ground between it. It is feudalism. Powerful families such as the Hashemites in Jordan, the House of Saud in Saudi Arabia, the families that control Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. If you ever needed more proof that it is feudalism, it's the United Emirates, right? The families, the major power families that control that state. Well, why does it make no economic sense, neo-feudalism? Well, it's basically the same pyramidal system as a monopoly. Because there is no competition, right, and because you cannot get rid of it, because in the structure, that the tribal structure of Arab society, it's like a natural monopoly that nobody recognises it as illegitimate, and so therefore no one will challenge it. Okay, and if you do challenge it, because you might have got some Western ideas of democracy, you can find yourself having your head chopped off in the middle of the street, which happens routinely in Saudi Arabia for such things as women wanting a divorce, or that you want to change your religion to something else other than their brand of Islam. It can even be just simply changing to a different branch of Islam will get your head chopped off, okay, by a religious place. Now, I'm not confusing Saudi Arabia with Dubai, which is much more liberal, or puts on a liberal capitalist face to the West. It's very welcoming of the super rich and such families that are akin to the people who run Dubai, because of course there are families within the West which would like to gangster families, terrorist families within the West who would like to assume this mantle of overall control. Okay, and the West has been very sort of drawn into this idea of sort of a feudalistic system of some top earners, some top families, an elite, oligarchy of families that are not within the law, can do what they please, and that the law really doesn't apply to them. Okay, you can only see what's happened to Russia with the oligarchs there who have, of course, fled. And where did they flee to? They fled to either the Middle East or to Britain, because that's where they feel safe. Okay, similar system. An oligarchy of families control the Arab Middle East. Okay. Now, you can be critical of Israel all you like, because there are lots to be critical of Israel, because of course when the Russian oligarchs and mafia godfathers fled Russia, where did they go to? They went to Israel as well, but they also went to the Middle East. But Israel does try to have some sort of functioning democracy, whereas in Dubai there's very little political freedom. And because of that, no one challenges that business structure, it allows these families to be too big to fail. Okay, and the creditors of these families find that because they've got such a tight power structure over the territory they control, it doesn't matter if the Dubai world itself goes bust, because they simply just say, look, we're the controlling family, although it was us that I had the idea for Dubai World, and we encouraged you all to invest in it as a state-run company, it's no longer a state-run company. We have nothing to do with it, and if you've got any problems with you know, with creditors, don't come to us, or we might send some heavies around, basically, either in legal terms or in actual physical confrontational terms. And it's this kind of neo-feudalist network that the Bin Ladens set up in Saudi Arabia, parallel to the other feudalistic family, the House of Saud. And from there they built up a terrorist network. Okay, they weren't quite happy with just controlling economic power. They had to have their own private army, and that evolved into Al Qaeda. Okay, so not only is it the terrorism of the family over that territory a problem, but it also exports that violence and that political control of that I will make the law, but I'm not subject to the law. Okay, that that my word is law, which is basically just power. It is organised crime. Okay, and now we see the consequence of that, because of course now people will be hesitant to invest in Dubai. But that then brings us to the subject of the middlemen. As I mentioned in my talk, Who Runs This Place? Political Conventions, Steering Groups versus Written Constitutions. There's always a middleman, and that is the banking system. Now, the banks have invested a lot in Dubai. Chiefly among them, brings us back to Britain again. HSBC, all right. Lots of people have accounts with HSBC, and part of it is owned by the government because of the credit crisis. But before the government had anything to do with it, they were doing business with the family that controls Dubai. Okay, so our banks have no ethics. Okay, for one, and they don't seem to have any business sense, because of course all these deals between the different neo-feudalist families in the Gulf are done behind closed doors, and the banks have a knowledge gap, because they don't know really what's being said inside those places. They're only given a second-hand account, and that leaves them open. It leaves them open to bad business models, which Dubai World has proved to be, and this then makes stock markets vulnerable. Okay, so we as account holders, okay, in our banks, are giving our money, are lending our money, which is unsecured by anyone except ourselves, to banks to invest in regimes that deal in drugs, human trafficking, restrict political and religious freedom, in the murky business of the oil companies, okay, on which our own Western major families who would like it to be a neo-feudalist system are involved with, and are using the territories that they control as their own private piggy banks, and then say to creditors who are the banks, no, it's all on you. Okay, so in Britain and Europe and America end up footing the bill, and these people still have their luxury lifestyles. They still jet over and wear the sheikh's clothing in their own countries, and come over here when there's a revolution or something with their ill-gotten gains, and live off it in places like Paris and Geneva, free from ever being held accountable or taken to human rights court. Right now, in second world countries like Serbia, these people have been taken abroad because the people there have a political framework where they can stand up for themselves. The people in the Middle East are so pushed down by these people that will never happen. Okay, so Dubai is a warning from history of what will happen with neo-feudalism if it takes hold outside the Middle East.